The Houston job market took a noticeable dip in July, shedding over 30,000 jobs, a number that might raise eyebrows. But how much of this decline is seasonal, and how concerned should we be? To help us make sense of the numbers and discuss where the jobs were lost, where they're still growing, and what these trends say about Houston's broader economic health, we're joined by Craig Rhodes, Senior Vice President of Economic Development at the Greater Houston Partnership. If you'd like to join the conversation, you know the number, 713-440-8870. Craig, welcome to the program.
Great. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay.
I really appreciate it.
30,000 jobs sounds like a lot, is it?
It was definitely jumped off the page a little bit. Obviously, we don't like to see the red numbers, but I think you mentioned in the intro there's a seasonal element to what we see with the jobs numbers, right? So we always see a natural dip in January. We see a similar dip in July. Certainly overall job growth this year has been slower, still positive for the Houston region overall. I think when we look at a 12-month rolling cycle in terms of job growth, and when we look at that July to July number, it's actually a positive number, 62,000 in that 12 months. So that does help level off some of the seasonal elements to the job growth. We see things like teacher contracts that expire in July. Those will get renewed in August and September, so we'll gain most of those jobs back over the second half of this year. But there is a natural dip in January and July every year, just based on sort of seasonal elements to job growth.
You know, Craig, oftentimes on Hello Houston, we'll be looking at housing, or we're looking at Houston from different perspectives. And we hear that Houston and Harris County, our area, is unique. Talk to us a little bit how it's unique. Houston and this area is unique when it comes to jobs and it comes to economics.
Sure. No. So I think we're looking for, right, at the Greater Houston Partnership, all things that are uniquely Houston, right? What makes Houston stand out, both nationally within Texas and also globally, for sure. We know we're a global metropolitan city. So I think the infrastructure that's here, right, is a big part of the selling point, right? Whether it's the port, the airports, the overall infrastructure that we have, and the opportunities for business to locate here. We have a diverse and talented workforce, right? We know we're an international melting pot of cultures, races, ethnicities, religions. That's a big part of our what makes the unique fabric of Houston, and that's something we know companies we talk to want to hire a diverse and talented workforce. We've got great universities and colleges in the region that are all, can help companies in terms of that long-term pipeline of talent. And so all those things are really, I think a unique part of what helps Houston stand out, and I think why we've continued to attract growth across the Houston region.
Help me understand also, as we talk about this, we're kind of talking about it in this own little nutshell here, but when you look at other major cities, how are we doing compared to them? Is our growth up, down? What are they doing to help us understand how we're doing?
Yeah, no, so it's a great point. So that's the first thing we look at, right? If there are trends happening, are they national trends? Are they just specific to Houston? And I would say, across the board, we're holding our own with our peer cities, and in many cases outpacing them from a job growth standpoint. If you look at calendar year 2024, we had 49,500 new jobs. That put us fourth in the U.S. overall, right? So we're the fifth largest metro. We were fourth in job growth, so we're a little bit ahead of pace there overall. If you look at that number I mentioned earlier, the rolling 12-month cycle of 62,000 jobs, that puts us third in the U.S. overall in terms of job growth, and slightly ahead of Dallas, which is always nice.
That's always nice.
So
that's where we are. Where will we be in 6 months in a year, do you think? Do you do that kind of forecasting?
So we will do some forecasting at the end of the year. Obviously, as I mentioned earlier, the job growth this year is slower across the board. That's a national trend. That's not a Houston specific area. A lot of uncertainty in the market right now, and uncertainty causes companies to pause. You're right. In my area of economic development, that means not the same pace of job growth and investments. And so we had projected last year around 70,000 new jobs for 2025. We're not going to get to that number, but we do see positive job growth the second half of this year, kind of from September to the end of the year. We expect that number to be somewhere in the 20 to 30,000 range. So we would hopefully be about half of what we thought job growth was going to be, in November, December of last year.
And what sectors?
So more jobs, more people working in the healthcare sector than any other sector in Houston, right? So the energy capital of the world, but more people working in healthcare, manufacturing. We've had some great announcements in the manufacturing sector with companies like Foxconn and their partnerships with Apple and NVIDIA, Inventec, and others that are expanding in our advanced manufacturing sector. And then certainly we've got a population now at 7.8 million, right? We added 200,000 new Houstonians last year. And so those sectors to support that kind of population growth, retail, restaurants, bars, public education, those are all areas that we're going to see continued growth in.
You talk about the population increase, but you talk about the job numbers, and if you're doing the math, it's 30,000 additional jobs if you're then taking away. But the influx of people is so much more. How does that calculate in when you look at the numbers?
Yeah, so overall population growth I mentioned way up, right? We were actually second only behind New York last year in total population growth. So positive sign for us, right? People are voting, and 75% of that was migration into the region, both international and domestic. So I would say people are voting with their feet, right, in their U-Haul trailers, and they're coming to Houston. Beautiful weather we've had the last couple of days, right, Frank?
We'll take it when we can get it.
That's right. They're not always coming for the weather.
But are they coming in with jobs, or are they coming in to find jobs?
I think a little bit of both. Some of them are relocating because they've been hired here, but I think job opportunities is a big part of the story for why people are choosing to come to Houston. For
So then are we matching opportunity for this huge number of people that's coming in for the number of jobs you talk about being created?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know that we've done that level of analysis to see. I mean, in general, what we would say is for new employers that are coming into the marketplace, we have a diverse and talented workforce here. We have a pipeline of talent. We're growing in our 0 to 18 population category, which a lot of major metros aren't growing. Mm-hmm. So these companies aren't looking at 2 and 3 year investments. They're looking at 30 and 40 year investments. And is this a market that they can attract and grow talent in? And so we think all those numbers add up to a positive story for Houston, but there is some analysis to be done as we add population that we're meeting that demand with the new job growth.
And, Craig, we did have a YouTube comment from The Truth that says energy companies slimming down workforce is a huge headwind for Houston's growth. How do you factor oil and gas type volatility when you're looking at these type of analysis of jobs?
Sure. No. So obviously we're proud of our energy sector, right? We're certainly the energy capital of the world. The partnership has done a lot of work in the last few years to make sure that we're going to maintain that, right, with energy transition and all the new energy areas. So the oil and gas industry continues to get more efficient in the way that they do their work, which requires less people. So we're getting record high production with fewer wells and fewer people, right, in the traditional oil and gas sector. I always take that as a sign, right? People say Houston's not a tech town. That's technology, right? That's creating that kind of a opportunity in the oil and gas sector. So where we will see growth in the energy is going to be in new energies, clean tech, clean energy, energy transition, and we're seeing a lot of those projects. We've had a number of solar companies, for example, that have located in the Houston region, and so we're continuing to see growth in the energy sector generally, but it's going to be in new energy.
And you're talking about clean energies, and we understand that this administration has rolled back a lot of the clean energy efforts. And, I've attended CERAWeek multiple times to report on coverage, and it was a very different CERAWeek from last year to this year. How are you balancing that out when you look at jobs? Does it affect oil and gas? How is it affecting oil and gas?
Yeah, so I think the partnership's position has always been that this is going to be a long-term transition. This energy transition is not going to happen overnight, right? It's going to be a long-term process. And so certainly we've seen some pause in some of the international investment side. As I mentioned earlier, we saw a number of solar companies from across the world that chose to locate in Houston, build new facilities here on the solar manufacturing, in part to take advantage of the IRA program and some of the federal programs. There's a little bit of uncertainty about the future of some of those, and so we have seen a little bit of slowing in some of those investment areas. But overall, those companies are here, and we think long-term there's still going to be opportunities for them to grow here in the Houston region.
That's what I was going to ask you. Is where is the lack? Where are we failing that we could improve?
Yeah, so good question. I think I mentioned earlier, kind of joked about being a technology town, right? I think we continue to see opportunities to grow on the digital tech, and there's a lot of great technology in Houston that's embedded in non-tech industry, and so how do we continue to grow and advance ourselves in kind of innovation and tech sector. And, we're seeing this resurgence around advanced manufacturing. A lot of these companies came to Houston to serve compact computers, back in the late 80s, early 90s. Some of them left and did production overseas. It's exciting to see them coming back into the U.S. and specifically the Houston region. And so this AI manufacturing area, Foxconn has been on the record saying they see Houston as really a hub for this advanced manufacturing, which we hope is going to create a lot of new jobs and opportunities. So always ways to improve with where we're at. Life sciences and biotech is another area we're really excited about. We've been a great healthcare community overall. Texas Medical Center, right, world's largest, MD Anderson, global reach on cancer care. We haven't been big on the biotech commercialization side, and so we think there's some really exciting opportunities for how we take that next step to the commercial side of biotech.
When do you start to get concerned? We talk a lot about the economy, what's going on there. We see tariffs. There's questions about what the tariff impact is going to be. We see this slight job loss right now that you've explained away. Mm-hmm. But when does it become an issue that you folks start to get worried and concerned? What do we look for number-wise?
Yeah, so I think a couple things that we would look at. One, right, while we're seeing slower growth, we're not seeing an uptick yet in unemployment or layoffs, right? So that has stayed pretty stable. So we're seeing slower job creation, but we're not seeing a big spike on that side of the ledger. That would be something we would pay attention to. Also, for our work in the project pipeline, if we start to see a real decline in overall interest and activity around new project potential. So our team has seen 140 new potential projects looking and considering the Houston region just so far, year to date this year. That's 3 to 4 new potential projects every week that our team is engaging on.
How does that compare to past years?
Yeah, it's right up there. So post-pandemic, right, Texas was the first state to reopen, and we've seen a significant uptick since then for the Houston region, and it's right on par with what we've seen the last 5 or 6 years in terms of record high interest and activity. Texas is on the short list, and then Houston's the international city of Texas. We're the port city of Texas. We have some of that great infrastructure we talked about earlier. All those things I think really drive interest in Houston. And so if that started to really taper off or decline, then I think we would have some concern. But right now, the interest is still really high. And those are companies that if they choose to locate here, right, that's our job, to convince them to do that. Those are projects that will create jobs, later this year, next year, and in the years to come.
So who's in the better pool? The people looking for the job or the company that has to find people that are looking for jobs?
Yeah, I don't know that I've thought about it that way before. I think there's still lots of job opportunities out there. I know Foxconn, for example, just had a job fair with Houston City College last week for new opportunities within their facilities that they're going to be opening here soon. So I think if you're out there looking for job, opportunities, I think there are going to be, chances for those potential areas. And then obviously the partnership's really focused on upskilling Houston, right, and the work we're doing on the workforce development, how we create opportunity for all and how we create economic mobility within the region and make sure we have a great overall population base, a growing long-term pipeline of talent. How do we make sure we're getting those people funneled into these the right areas for the right training and skill sets? And we're really fortunate. We've got great universities, our great college systems here that are really in tune with industry and making sure we're training. I'll give one example, right? San Jacinto College is going to be opening a new biotech manufacturing training center, which really is going to put Houston right on the cutting edge of helping train that workforce to help in the commercialization of biotech.
Now, Craig, when we're looking at the fact that Houston is an extremely international city, you talked about it, we have a lot of global companies that are here. Are we seeing any direct effects from the sweeping immigration policies that we've been seeing hit Houston?
Yeah, I don't think we've seen any specific effects yet. In fact, I look at international travel through the Houston airport system year to date through July was actually up, all-time record high. So I thought that was interesting. Also, just in terms, you mentioned tariffs earlier and kind of the potential impact. Certainly, we're a major trading hub, a port city, but container cargo activity through the Port of Houston through July was actually up, right? Record high in terms of overall container cargo. So we're not seeing yet the potential impacts, not to say it's not there and could happen. Certainly, Houston's an international city. 1 in 4 Houstonians is foreign-born. 30% of our workforce is an international workforce. And so it's an important part of the fabric of Houston, an important part of our workforce. And so any policies or changes in that would have impact could certainly have a ripple effect on Houston overall.
We talk about the energy sector. We talk about now the healthcare sector. Are we positioning ourselves for where we need to be 40, 50 years from now? Are you seeing that forward thinking of where are we going to be as a people and what are we going to need to be to stay on the cutting edge?
Yeah, I think there is a lot of investments being made, right, on the infrastructure side, mobility, transportation, those areas. I would also say we have a sister organization with Center for Houston's Future that kind of looks at that sort of 10-year and beyond horizon. They're working on a new strategic plan, looking at some of those new economies and places that we want to look at. One of those is just specifically around some of the brain research stuff. There's new state funding around the brain economy and what that could look like for Houston. Similar, could we be a leader in that space like we have in the cancer research side? So I think there's some exciting work that's being done to sort of look long term at where we want to be. And then again, AI is going to be a part of it, right? I think we're required to mention it, right, in all discussions. Yeah,
absolutely.
But I think, Houston can be a hub for a lot of pieces of that. We're talking about the manufacturing, building the server systems that are going to support it. Also on the implementation side, right, large healthcare institutions, major corporate entities where we could see heavy implementation of that technology.
Craig Rhodes is the Senior Vice President of Economic Development at the Greater Houston Partnership. Craig, thank you for joining us today on Hello Houston.
All right. Thank y'all so much.
You.
Appreciate it.